Here are our metric measures. We measure distance in metres, mass in grams, and volume in litres. I'm going to list out various everyday items with their most suitable units of measure. Firstly, measures of distance. I would measure the length of a book in centimetres. The height of a door in metres. The length of a swimming pool, although longer, I would also measure in metres. But the distance between Reigate College and Redhill, I would measure in kilometres. Now looking at weight. If I were to think of the weight of a pencil, I would measure that in grams. If I were to go to the supermarket measuring a banana, that also I would measure in grams. However, if I were to pick up a sack of potatoes, I would measure that in kilograms. I would also measure a dog in kilograms. Volume, I measure in litres. The medicine on a spoon would be millilitres. As would the amount of cola in a Coke can. A bucket of water measures a bigger amount, a bigger volume. I would measure that in litres. And also, water in the swimming pool would be measured in litres. To demonstrate how we convert between measures, I'm first going to look at distance. There are 100 centimetres in 1 metre. If I were to convert my measures in metres to centimetres, I would multiply by 100. There are 1,000 millimetres in 1 metre. If I were to convert my metre measure into millimetres, I would multiply by 1,000. 7.2 metres is the same as 720 centimetres. 7.2 metres is the same as 7,200 millimetres. There are 1,000 metres in 1 kilometre. If my distance were measured in kilometres and I wanted to convert that measure to metres, I would multiply my number by 1,000. 14 kilometres is equal to 14,000 metres. Converting from the smaller units to the larger units, I would use the same number, but this time I would divide. If I were to convert 350 centimetres into metres, I would divide by 100. 350 centimetres is the same as 3.5 metres. If I had 350 millimetres, however, and I wanted to convert them to metres, I would divide by 1,000. So 350 millimetres is the same as 0.35 metres. And lastly, if I had a measure in metres that I wanted to convert to kilometres, I would again divide by 1,000. 750 metres is the same as 0.75 kilometres. To go from my bigger unit to my smaller unit, I multiply. To go from my smaller unit to my bigger unit, I divide. If I were to compare the following measures by converting them all to metres, starting with 4,350 millimetres, I would divide this number by 1,000, which would give me 4.35 metres. 0.45 kilometres I can convert to metres by multiplying by 1,000. 0.45 kilometres is 450 metres. And finally, 420 centimetres converted to metres means I'm going to divide by 100. 420 centimetres is 4.2 metres. I would need to make these conversions if, for example, I wanted to add up all of these measures. Having converted them to the same unit, my addition is then far easier because I can then line up all of the digits in the correct places in order to do a column addition. Alternatively, they would all need to be in the same units if I wanted to add them using a calculator. There are 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. If my measure were given to me in kilograms, I would multiply by 1,000 to convert that to grams. If my measure were given to me in grams and I wanted to convert to kilograms, I would divide by 1,000. So if I had 2 kilograms, I would have 2,000 grams. And if I had 7,500 grams, I would have 7.5 kilograms. My question says, having used 250 grams from a 3 kilogram bag of flour, calculate how much flour I have left in the bag. I can't do this question until all of my measures are given in the same unit. So I would always choose to use the smaller unit of measure. First of all then, I take 3 kilograms and multiply it by 1,000 in order to convert my measure to grams. I have a 3,000 gram bag of flour. I can now take from that 3,000 grams the 250 grams that have already been used, which show me that I have a total left of 2,750 grams. If I wanted to, I could then convert that 2,750 grams back into kilograms by dividing by 1,000. I have 2.75 kilograms of flour left. So remember, any adding or subtracting of our units of measure require us to be working in the same unit. And what we would do is we would make the number in the bigger unit to match with the smaller unit. So if I wanted to add 4.2 kilometres to 350 metres, I would firstly convert 4.2 kilometres to metres. And I do that by multiplying by 1,000. 4,200 plus 350 gives me a total measure of 4,550 metres, which, if the question required it, I could convert back to kilometres by dividing by 1,000. 4.55 kilometres. A similar sum is required for my measures of volume, so my litres. 2.5 litres converted to millilitres is 2,500. Subtract 300 millilitres gives me a total of 2,200 millilitres, and converting that back to litres is 2.2 litres. My last calculation is of mass. I have 1.1 kilograms, which I'm going to convert to 1,100 grams. I can then add 800 grams, giving a total of 1,900 grams, which I can then convert back to 1.9 kilograms. This is a typical division type question where, before you do the calculation, the litres of water in the bucket need to be converted to millilitres. So, how many 330 millilitre jam jars can I fill from my 5 litre bucket of water? 5 litres converted to millilitres means I've got to multiply by 1,000, means I have 5,000 millilitres of water in my bucket. 5,000 millilitres of water divided by 330 millilitres would actually give you 15.15 jam jars. But as I'm only interested in the whole jam jars I can fill, I'm rounding this to the nearest whole number. So I can fill 15 jam jars full of water. To demonstrate how this works in an exam question, here is a typical exam question regarding measures and conversions. The diagram shows a patio in the shape of a rectangle, and the patio is 2.4 metres long and 2 metres wide. Matthew is going to cover the patio with paving slabs. Each paving slab is a square of sides 40 centimetres. Matthew buys 32 of the paving slabs, and we need to calculate whether or not Matthew has enough paving slabs to cover the patio. So the first thing you'll notice is that the measurement of the patio itself is in metres, and the measurement of the slab is in centimetres. So it's the larger units, metres, that I'm going to convert. 2 metres is 200 centimetres, and 2.4 metres is 240 centimetres. Now I'm thinking of the dimension of the slab. Here is the dimension that represents the length, and I'm going to compare that to this dimension of the patio here, saying in 240 centimetres, how many 40 centimetres can I get? How many 40s are there in 240? There are 6. For the height dimension here, I'm going to compare it to this dimension here. So the same kind of question. This time 200 divided by 40. So by doing these two sums, what I've worked out is I can get a row of 6 slabs along the width of this patio, and I'm going to get 5 rows in total. So 5 rows times 6 slabs in each row means I need 30 slabs. Comparing that to the 32 that have been bought, Matthew needs 30, therefore the purchase of 32 means he'll have 2 left over.